Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Friday to you and your family. Hope you have an amazing day. Happy Cinco de Mayo as well to those whomever is celebrating. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin, of course, see what's going on. Really cool stuff. It's important you watch to the end because we're going to cover some Bitcoin dominance, CME futures. We're going to take a look at some altcoin dominance as well and just kind of get perspective on this neutral, bearish, bullish type of situation that we're in right now. It's kind of a funny place. Bitcoin does look like it wants to break to the upside. We're seeing a lot of good signs there. We'll also jump into some high block capital data too. So if you are new to the channel, I just ask a quick favor. Help us click that like button, subscribe, the whole 9 yards there, and enable notifications so you can be abreast on all things current. Not just my YouTube videos too, also our Twitter as well, so you can effectively stay on top of everything is relative, everything is current. I've been covering a lot of different situations recently with meme coins, CME futures. Also, we covered the Fed meeting live as well. So a lot of cool stuff's going on, and you'll only know that if you are enabled notifications, and obviously you are part of this here. So help us grow. Like, subscribe, follow, retweet all that garbage, right? Okay, so let's take a look at Bitcoin and see what's going on. What we want to talk about there's a few things. Okay, so first and foremost, let's jump right into futures. We can see we do have a small CME futures that hasn't been filled yet. Now keep in mind, you're like, well, okay, it wasn't a weekend. What the heck? Where did this come from? Well, technically between 5 and 6 p.m. 5 and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, you'll effectively have the CME futures close for an hour each day. So during that close, we saw this gap start and not fully get filled. It's only half filled. Okay, so not saying the price is going to dip down to 28.6, but if it were to, it would make sense for it to fill that gap. Okay, so again, nothing super massive and major, but just a little something to know. Okay, all right. Also, take a look here. We can see rejection right off there, about 49% as per usual for Bitcoin, hitting that all-time, most recent high essentially for this year, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, not this year. I apologize. We were a little bit higher at 49.06%. So what I'm getting at is Bitcoin dominance. As it increases, altcoins tend to suffer, and then there's like kind of this phenomenon that occurs where altcoins start to come alive once Bitcoin dominance starts to decrease. Okay. Now, if we see Bitcoin break through this level, this threshold, and continue higher, then we'll see basically Bitcoin season, for lack of better terms, where Bitcoin takes off, which would be just fine. But it does imply that altcoins would kind of hang tight until then, right? There's a lot of little things you can kind of think about here, but generally speaking, that's roughly what that looks like. We can also see that altcoin dominance is continuing to decrease, somewhere in the 9% range now. That is a fairly low point for it. It's been lower, of course, but it's testing and breaking a little bit lower than the most recent low back in December. So for lack of better terms, alts right now, minus a couple of meme coins here, Pepe and Wojak specifically, they're all kind of not flourishing for the moment, right? And that just basically implies that once we bounce off whatever support level, which we might be hitting now, we might see alt season occur. But we're a little ways from that. Okay, there's a few other things that need to happen first. All right, let's take a quick peek at this here as well. This is kind of a good little, just a quick perspective tool for you to kind of see what's going on. It's not by any stretch specifically accurate. Okay, and what I mean by that is, just because we break below or above these certain levels doesn't mean we're just taking off in either direction. It just implies that we're kind of more so in a neutral area right now. We broke that, that 28,900 mark. We're up over 29K and below 30K. Okay, that's really what it means. That 29,000 to 30,500 range is kind of a neutral stance. Okay, we can see that reflected on high block capital for the fear and greed index. We'll look at that here in a minute, but for lack of better terms, that's kind of just giving us perspective that we're back on track. We're looking fairly decent for Bitcoin, but we are also coming into a resistance range here where we can see there's a lot of resistance for the moment in this range. Okay, so these are kind of support and resistance levels. Based on volume here, we are seeing a little less volume moving forward. So I would like to see more volume today to be able to break through that level, but again, beggars can't be choosers, right? As they say, I'm not a beggar, I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, cool. So we got all that. Let's take a look here in just a minute, but we want to circle around to high block capital, kind of see what's going on here. It's really important to recognize because we see a lot more liquidations for shorts. Shorts are getting liquidated pretty hard right now. Makes sense because they bet on the fact that 29,000 wouldn't be broken, and it did. That's why we took our long from Solana yesterday and took some healthy profits from that. Okay, so keep in mind, we're doing very well in that sense as a community, but overall, we can see that there's a lot of things going on in the back end here. In fact, just before we jump in, I want to touch on this as well. We can see a lot more bids than asks, which basically, if you're not familiar, just means that people are trying to buy more than sell more right now. And that's a good sign. This is a global bid-ask spread ratio. giving us indication that there, across all exchanges, there's more people trying to buy than sell. And that's a positive sign, being in the range of 29,000 or higher. I like to see that, because when we got to 29,000 or higher before, we saw tons and tons of sell. That means the average true range in the last couple of weeks, it's averaged itself out where people are realizing that, hey, this is actually a good price point for Bitcoin. The mentality has shifted. All right, and that's a good sign. But once again, if we take a look here at Fear and Greed Index, we can see, of course, we're about a 61 today, which is good. It's good. We want it to be kind of in the 50s to 60 range at least. Nothing too crazy, but also relatively recent here. Okay, taking a quick look here, we can see some shorts got liquidated pretty hard right there at the 29.5 mark when the price wicked up last night. We can also see that a lot of folks who had some limit orders set at the 30,000 range has closed those. Okay, now what does that mean? Well, that can mean a lot of different things, honestly, but it does kind of help us imply that there's some concern that the price is going to go higher because they're closing their positions there. In other words, those are likely shorts that had some stop losses in place, and they closed those to get to close out their position essentially, or they just got squeezed out last night. Taking a look at the open interest, we want to kind of quickly pick here and see that we are in a situation right now where longs are in the green. Okay, so the late longs and even early longs, the folks that were long basically late last night, are all in profit. So that's fantastic for them. When it comes to shorts, probably the opposite. Actually, there are some shorts that are late shorts right there at about 29,400. They are slightly in profit too, but that doesn't necessarily imply that the price is going to drop. So the bottom line is that shorts are more underwater than longs right now, and there's more bids than asks. So those are all positive signs. And then I kind of briefly went over this, but open interest is higher now today. Extremely important. More open interest, Bitcoin dominance increasing, price increasing, volume. Those are all very positive signs. So we have more bullish signs in the back end, the level 2 day, that we can't typically see than in the front end. And there's also some really cool stuff on the chart. So let's talk about that here. Take a look at this. RSI back up over 50. Fantastic news. Love that. But take a look at how hard this money flow index is increasing. That's that extra volume we're seeing coming into the market. That's extremely important. That allows for us to sustain this price point and to likely have the price continue higher. So to my community members who have held that long position open for a few days now, we're going to be able to hit our target. We're going to close that. It's perfectly fine. That's exactly why I opened a Solana trade here recently, and we took a nice 23% in just under 18 hours, 12 hours rather, because I sent that last night. And I just feel comfortable and confident that Bitcoin is going to be back on track here soon, or to at the very least retest 30,000. I think that's a strong likelihood. We've also got a MACD convergence on the horizon. This is huge. The last time we had this, keep in mind, the price turned itself right around. But we didn't have enough volume at that time to sustain that price point. It was a weekend. Today being a weekday, ideally we close very strong, and we see that momentum carried into the weekend. Just keep in mind, if we cannot converge on the MACD throughout the weekend, we might see a similar situation where the price will retrace. Okay, so again, that's kind of where we're at there on the daily. That's actually a very, very positive sign. Actually, one last thing, let's take a quick peek at the moving averages. We're above both moving averages. Extremely important to see that. That is very, very helpful. 4-hour time frame. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. This is where things can get interesting. It's kind of a transitionary time frame, right? Because the 1 hour translates to the 4 to the 1 day, and this is the time frame that I like to look at to give me confirmation on swing trades. So that being said, we can see we're still up over 50 on the RSI, maintaining that. Money flow index is increasing. We can see the convergence on the MACD is also running parallel / increasing. Those are both positive signs. We've also got a convergence here as well, potentially occurring on the RSI stochastic. So those are all very, very positive. I really like this. There is no over continuation either. We're hitting these 4, 5, and 6 4-hour candles and turning ourselves around. So it's a very tried and true, consistent higher highs and higher lows. So that's what let's talk about that, because the main reason I felt comfortable taking a long position with Solana last night, for example, not only it looks good on its own, but it also is following Bitcoin's chart, right? And for lack of better terms, we're seeing higher lows consistently along with higher highs, establishing this nice smooth ascending trend. We have this previous resistance level turned support. What do you know? It comes down here to bounce off of support. This green line that I drew, this arrow, this is basically a price analysis that I send out on Twitter effectively, where you can find those here. Typically, I kind of give you a potential, of what's going to happen next, right? This is our Solana long, of course, took the Solana long, but bottom line is that I send out these kind of things daily, and the reason why I felt like Bitcoin was going to play out the way that it did is simply because it is bouncing off that key level support. So see if I can show you here. So this is the potential play out, right? We had a bear flag type of pattern potentially occurring, but that support level held very strong and the price continued higher. So it's really, really cool to be able to kind of see that continue and happen. What's great about this here right now as well is the fact that we retest this level multiple times, broke above, didn't hold as a support, came down, got this super nasty candle wick that bounced off that support level, price came back up, but now we're in this, I wouldn't say it's price discovery, I don't like to use that word too loosely, but honestly, in the last 24 hours, we really are a new discovery for price, right? So we're rediscovering this area, and the price action being at this level and closing above, extremely important. So honestly, getting a closure above 29,300 a day is super helpful. That'll give us momentum throughout the weekend to likely hit our target of 29.8 and potentially even further. I think we're going to see a retest of 30,000 here soon. So it's looking very, very bullish and very good in that sense. I like it. I love what I see here so far for Bitcoin, and it's really awesome. So thank you very much for watching and joining me here again. Help us grow the community. Quick favor, like, subscribe, follow on YouTube, and also, of course, over here on Twitter, just so you can stay abreast of everything that's consistently relevant. Not only humor, meme coins, but also fundamental and technical data. It's all here in one place. Make sure you enable notifications so you can stay on top of things, because we keep you in the know all the time. We've got a full-time staff here working for you. Thanks again so much for joining me here. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.